back in 2013, Robert Boyajian topped a YCS with Electrum OTK. If you don't know how that combo worked, it started with these two cards right here. Chain Material says that if you want to make a fusion summon this turn, you can fuse from your hand, deck, or graveyard, or even your field. And Fusion Gate is a non-once per turn fusion summon where you banish the materials. By doing this, you can literally just fuse any monster you want by using all the cards in your deck, which makes this a very filthy combo. And when you decide to add in the card like Elemental Hero Electrum, it can get a little silly. So to just walk you through the basic combo that Robert Boyajian created, you banish these 4 cards right here, and special summon out Elemental Hero Electrum. Electrum's effect then triggers when it's fusion summoned. It can shuffle all banished cards back into the deck. So you shuffle your heroes back, and those materials then can just be banished once again to summon another copy of Electrum. Once you're at this step, you can overlay these two into Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max. You detach a material and inflict 2,000 damage to your opponent, and then basically through some looping, you can effectively banish this card and the Electrum in your graveyard to summon out Gaia, and then you can summon out your 3rd copy of Electrum to shuffle everything back, and this is then going to create a loop through a few extra processes, but that's kind of the gist of it. Now, this combo would be all fine and dandy if it wasn't, in Tengu plant format at least, but if it wasn't for the fact that this card just straight up doesn't exist, right? So, as a result of that, we needed to find a different way to do things, and that's why, for the most part in Tengu plant format up to this point, the combo with Fusion Gate and Chain Material was when you make your 2 Electrums, you fuse them on the field to summon out a copy of any elemental hero you want, and that's going to just create a big board that doesn't get destroyed during the end phase because you're fusing with on the field, so you don't have to necessarily use the effect of Chain Material to create them, right? Anything summoned off the effect of Chain Material is supposed to be destroyed during the end phase, if that makes sense. So that's what you do. You make a big board, and you probably win on the next turn if you don't get Darkhold, which is kind of cool. But the German scientists, the German engineers in the other decks channel in the Tengu Plant Discord decided to find a way to recreate the Electrum OTK. And it's okay. It's not great, but it is funny. And that's why I wanted to show you this. I'm going to walk you through the new combo and how it works, as well as show you my personal build that I've been messing with for this list, so you guys can kind of get inspired and give it a shot yourself, because it is funny and it is really interesting. And the way this gets enabled is actually by adding 2 vanillas to your main deck, and those 2 vanillas are Petite Angel and Mystical Sheep number 2. The reason you put these 2 vanillas specifically in is they are the fusion materials required to make Fusionist. Now, once you have a Fusionist on the field, you do have to summon out a copy of Elemental Hero Electrum to shuffle back these 2 materials, but by doing this again, you can then summon your 2nd copy of Fusionist, and this is going to enable a rank 3. Now, I don't know if you can take a guess at what rank 3 it is, but it's not Leviair Leviathan. It's our boy, Submissible Carrier Arrow Shark. Now, this is a really stupid, funny card. Its effect is you can detach a material to inflict damage to your opponent's life points equal to the number of banished cards that you have, right? So in this scenario, it'll only be 2, but obviously with the abuse of Chain Material allowing you to fuse from hand, deck, or graveyard, you could then turn this into a loop. So to walk you through this combo, right, how this actually works is once you make your first Arrow Shark, we're just going to continue the combo from here, right? So you make your first Arrow Shark, you have an Electrum on the field, you then can banish to summon more monsters, right? You actually want to build up your banish pile so that your Arrow Shark can hit for as much damage as humanly possible. The first time around, as far as I'm aware, which, like, keep in mind, I don't have this combo 100% perfected, but the first time around, I feel like you can only get a certain amount of cards. Like, it's kind of capped. I think it's like max 10, and then after that, you can burn for 16. So we're going to summon most decks, most Gate Hero lists are on Thunder Dragon. So you have Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon. You can banish these 2, summon a Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon. You can even banish out your Alias and Stratos to summon out a copy of the Shining. Basically, you want to fill your board with as many heroes that you can possibly summon before making your Electrum and before before you go, like, I guess, too deep into the combo. So basically, as soon as you make Electrum, all these cards are going to get shuffled back, so you need as many cards as possible here to burn. So I think on the first combo, this is as much as you can do here. So you just fuse these two together to make a copy of the Shining, and then you can, like, fuse these two together to make a copy of, like, you can just do another copy of the Shining, for example. Or actually, no, we'll do Nova Master, because with the extra copy of Elemental Hero Voltic in the deck, you could then fuse with these two and summon out, like, your final copy of Shining, right? So what this is going to amount to is we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 12 cards banished, and that's when you can trigger your effect of Submissible Carrier Arrow Shark, which is going to then detach and burn your opponent for 1200 damage, right? And after that's done, we now have to figure out how to loop this all back in. So what you do is you fuse with the Fusionist and the Elemental Hero you have remaining on the field, and you summon out Elemental Hero Gaia. Reason for this is you need to get the Fusionist back into your extra deck so you can do this again. And then once we have the Gaia on the field, you can fuse with the Arrow Shark and the Gaia to summon out a copy of Elemental Hero Absolute Zero. This will then put your last Fusionist back in the grave, but this now gives you the perfect opportunity to banish the materials remaining for your Electrum, to put these back in, and then shuffle everything back. So, start of this rotation, we're now going to banish the Petite Angel and the Mystical Sheep number 2 to summon out the first copy of Fusionist once again. I'm sorry, I'm operating with really big piles. This combo would be impossible to show on Dueling Book because it just takes way too long, to be honest. And then you banish the Fusionist and the Elemental Hero Absolute Zero here to summon out a copy of Elemental Hero Gaia, which then means you round this off with your your second copy of Electrum, which is going to shuffle all these guys back, and then create again another fusion summon of your last Fusionist, and now we get a second copy of Arrow Shark on the field. And at this point, I'm fairly confident the max you can do for burn here is going to be 1600 moving forward. So what this does is we start by banishing the 2 Thunder Dragons to summon out the twin-headed Thunder Dragon. You can then fuse with the Gaia and the Thunder Dragon to make a copy of Elemental Hero the Shining. You can then banish your Alias and Stratos to make another copy of Elemental Hero the Shining again. We can then banish these two here to make Nova Master. Keep in mind, Electrum is treated as, like, all different types, so it's like fire, water, like, you can use this to be the material for any of the Elemental Hero fusions, really. So we'll make a copy of Nova Master, and then we can fuse the Nova Master and the Shining for our third copy of the Shining. We can then fuse the Shining and the Electrum to make a copy of Absolute Zero. And then you can fuse the Absolute Zero with the Voltic in your deck to summon out a copy of Vision Hero Adoration. And so now we're going to have 2 cards left, exactly 2 cards left in our extra deck, including one of them being an Absolute Zero, the other one being the final copy of Electrum, which can then shuffle all this back. So with this, we should have exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 cards in our banished pile, and that means we can now detach and do 1600 damage once again. And then, of course, right after that, we have to summon out our last copy of, or our third copy of Electrum and shuffle everything back. And this creates a loop, right? I can walk you through it one more time, but basically, if you kind of repeat the exact process I just did, you can get yourself back to banishing 16 cards every time and doing 1600 damage at a time. All right, to continue the loop from here, we can then banish these 2 cards here, summon out a copy of Absolute Zero. You can then banish this with the Absolute Zero to summon out a copy of Gaia, and then you can fuse the Arrow Shark and the Gaia to summon out another copy of Absolute Zero. This is going to then put most of your cards you need back. We summon out the copy of Electrum, shuffling all of these monsters back into the deck, and then all we have to do is create one more Gaia, so we can fuse the Electrum with the... sorry, not the Electrum. You fuse the Absolute Zero with the Fusionist to make another copy of Gaia, and then we have to summon out another copy of Electrum to shuffle these back. But actually, first what we'll do, before you do that, so then what you do is you make your first Fusionist here, and then you make your second copy of Electrum, which shuffles all these guys back. This then lets you banish these two to summon the copy of Fusionist and gets you right back into the Arrow Shark and gives you a board of heroes, which then means you can do the Thunder Dragon play, and it's going to get you right back at 16. So basically, you can loop this process over and over and burn your opponent for 1,600 damage at a time once it's like first established. And it's kind of cool, you know what I'm saying? It's really interesting. This is an OTK, and I think what's really fun about this is I never would have guessed that I could game somebody with Submissible Carrier Arrow Shark, so I think it's really funny. So with that being said, now you kind of have an idea of what the combo is. I'm sorry if I got a little messy. It is weird, and I'm not 100% proficient in it, but once we have this accomplished, I'll now kind of show you what my build looks like so you guys can kind of see and give it a shot yourself. Alright, so let's jump into the deck profile here for the build that I've been messing with. I've been trying to maximize this deck's consistency while also playing around cards like Valor. The one thing that hurts this deck is if you get Valored on your Electrum effect, you obviously don't get to shuffle materials back and your combo is dead. There are some cards that play around this, which I'll kind of explain in a second, but we'll kind of just start with the main deck monsters so you have an idea of what I'm running and you guys can kind of go from there. So for starters, with the monsters, we have one copy of Neos Alias, one copy of Stratos, one copy of Voltic, and then we have our materials. One thing to know is, like, while this deck can play like a standard Fusion Gate hero, you can like banish to summon an elemental hero fusion from your extra deck. It's kind of bad to use these materials unless you're making exactly like a copy of The Shining. Reason for that is if these are gone, you no longer have your like super cool combo. So you need like your Shining to get destroyed to add back like an Avian or Clayman. But, you know, given that gameplay happens that way, sometimes you just have to, and that's fine too. And then we also have to run our single copy of Mystical Sheep #2 and Petite Angel to enable the Fusionist combo. And then the last monsters we have is just 3 copies of Thunder Dragon. This card's really, really nice in the deck, one, because it's just going to give you extra pluses, and I have another function for it, and which we'll get to later. But the nice thing about it is you can use it to fuse to make a Shining. So like, let's say you have just an Avian and Thunder Dragons in hand. Once you get your 2 Thunder Dragons, you can use Fusion Gate to banish Avian and Thunder Dragon. And if once your Shining gets destroyed, you can add back an Avian. You can also use Voltic to try to get those cards back, because as long as they're within your hand, deck, or graveyard, that's all that matters. You just don't have access to them in the banished pile if you can't summon out Elemental Hero Electrum. So that's just the monster count. Very, very small monster count. You have access to your searchers and stuff like that, so you don't really need much. And again, your combo basically happens from the deck, so you don't really need to worry about opening too much. So going into the spells, obviously the main combo we're trying to get to is we need to hard draw the chain material and get a copy of Fusion Gate live, which means that we really need to dig deep into our deck, and we need to do it fast so we can try to win fast, right? So I'm actually on a copy of Card Destruction. One, because there's so many cards, like, you know, if you draw into your Avians or your materials, any of those cards, if you draw into them, they're just dead in hand unless you want to make a fusion with them. But if you activate Card Destruction, you can just pitch them for draws to try to get you to your combo faster, and you're also on Thunder Dragon, which is automatically going to give you an even trade off your Card Destruction. You're going to get like a pseudo plus, I guess. But it's gonna let you draw more cards with the Thunder Dragons you're adding, right? So I think it's really nice to get you to your combo. We're on one copy of Book of Moon. This not only is good as a defensive tool for outing things like Thunder Dragon or Thunder King, because of the fact that you do run a lot of hard searches. So Thunder King does wall this deck really hard. The other thing that makes it really nice is you can chain Book of Moon to your Electrum, which is going to help you dodge a Valor again. And you can still fusion with face down monsters and stuff like that too. So if they try to Valor you and you Book of Moon, this is going to let you continue your combo through Valor, which is a bit of a problem. We have one copy of Heavy Storm. Obviously, if you have like chain material set, you can just Heavy Storm, chain material, clear your opponent's back row so you don't have to worry about nothing, and then you can activate your Fusion Gate and start going off. So Heavy Storm is good. Dark Hole is also very good, not only as like its natural defensive tool, but let's say you do get Valored on your Electrum play, and I'll kind of walk you through this really fast. Let's say you make your first copy of Elemental Hero Electrum by banishing these cards here, and you summon out the Electrum and they Valor you. You can then banish like a Thunder Dragon and a hero twice, so you could banish like Alias plus Stratos with a Thunder Dragon each, and then you can summon out 2 copies of your elemental hero, the Shining, which then lets you Dark Hole your own field to add all the materials back to your hand with your Shining effect, because they can add up to 2 heroes, and then that's going to let you continue your combo, right? Which is super weird that Dark Hole is also a combo extender, but it weirdly is in this deck. This deck is kind of spicy like that, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, we're on the single copy of Dark Hole, and then we're on 2 copies of Emergency Call. This card isn't actually like crazy important, again, because Chain Material is what's going to set you off, but it is nice for like playing standard with Fusion Gate. Once you activate this, search Stratos, you can just search Stratos plus Alias and then make a Shining or 2 copies of the Shining again with Thunder Dragon, which I think is pretty nice. It's like a really aggressive start to the game that your opponent has to like Dark Hold out, and if they Dark Hole, you don't really care. And then, all right, we're going to get into, there's a lot of 3 of spells. There's a lot of 3 of spells, but this is the card that I think, that I'm testing, that I think makes this really strong. And it's Triple Offerings to the Doomed. Now, the reason we're on Triple Offerings to the Doomed is this card is a quick play spell that destroys a monster and skips your next draw phase, right? The reason why this is really good is because it's a quick play, it also says destroy a monster, so it can be your own. So this card can be both a defensive tool as a way to pop your opponent's monsters, specifically Thunder King, so you can use your searchers like Emergency Call or even like, you know, Terraforming, etc. But it also can double as a way to extend your combo through Valor. Again, if you get Valored, you can use this on your own Electrum, chain this to your own Electrum, and then your Electrum will resolve, and so you don't have to worry about it, right? And again, once your combo's resolving, you've already won the game, so you don't really care about that draw phase skip, right? So then we're also continuing this. We're on Upstart Goblin. You have an infinite loop for burns, so you don't care about giving your opponent life points, right? We're on Triple Pot of Duality. This is just to dig deeper to get you into your Fusion Gates, and then we're on Triple Terraforming, as well as the 3 copies of Fusion Gate. And again, if you look at this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards right here that are hard walled off by Thunder King, not including Stratos himself and Thunder Dragon, which is again why I really think this Offerings to the Doomed is like a pretty cool idea. The only downside is while this is like very defensive for Valor, it's technically not defensive for Max C. If your opponent is on both Max C and Valor, if they Max C you, they can draw into multiple copies of Valor, which means you can, like, if you only have 1 Offerings, right, and you start comboing off, let's say you block the first Valor, but they have, let's say they have 3 Valor in deck and they Max Seed you already, then they're going to draw into another copy of Valor and stop the combo at some point, right? So you would need like 3 outs to Valor in that situation if you got Max Seed, which does feel kind of bad. The only reason why I want to go this route, though, is I feel like Valor is more common, especially in Game 1 scenarios, and you can kind of adjust your stuff in Game 2s and 3s to deal with Max C. This also doesn't really deal with Herald of Orange Light, which is a bit of a bummer, but again, that's just like agent-specific matchup, and, you know, I'm down to I guess, run that Gamba. All right, and moving on to the traps, we actually only have 7 total. So I have 3 copies of Chain Material. Obviously, this is the biggest core card for your combo. I'm on 2 copies of Solemn Warning, 1 copy of Solemn Judgment. These cards are technically replaceable because they're not like essential to your game plan, but the other card that I think is fairly good for as a trap is going to be Torrential. Reason for this is, again, if you summon Electrum and they activate Valor on summon, you can then chain the Torrential Tribute and pop the Electrum and your combo continues, right? So this is another way to extend your combo through Valor, which I think is fairly nice. We will then move on to the extra deck, which honestly, as you guys saw, you do use every card in the extra deck. So space is going to be weirdly tight for this extra. It's not, like, I really don't know what I would cut for other things. Technically, running 2 Gaia could be efficient for just speeding up the combo, because again, this takes a while. I would not recommend playing this deck on Dueling Book, guys. Like, it just takes so long to do everything, and it's kind of a pain, unless your opponent is, like, very willing to see, like, okay, yeah, there's a loop here, I lose, right? But basically, we're on 3 copies of Elemental Hero Electrum. This is the only way this combo would be enabled. If it was at 2, it wouldn't even be possible, right? We have Elemental Hero The Shining at 3. This is just the most generic card to fuse for, and it's also like your aggressive monster you want to play into if you aren't comboing, right? Like you just want to fuse this generically as an aggressive tool, and again with like the Dark Hole combo, you need to be maxed out on this. I'm on 2 copies of Absolute Zero. You definitely need this, again, to fuse with the Arrow Shark, but I didn't really feel like you needed 3. I think in like my regular Gate Hero list, I'm on 3, but since we're going for this OTK combo, I don't think it's as important. 1 copy of Nova Master. I just like having it as an option. Again, when you have like Burstinatrix in your hand and stuff like that, this could get you into drawing cards, which I think is nice. Elemental Hero Gaia, again, running this one as a one-of because it is important to get your Fusionists back into the extra deck. We then have a copy of Vision Hero Adoration. This is just a generic 2 hero monsters, which I think is really nice to kind of clear your board or like, you know, just extend. It's generic, it's helpful, and then since it is a hero, you can fuse this back into Absolute Zero because Absolute Zero only requires a hero as well, so you can loop this card as well. The Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, again, if you resolve Thunder Dragon and you have it, but you need to summon a big monster, summoning Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon is pretty low cost. Once you start doing your combo, like if you summon an Electrum, you can shuffle back the banished Thunder Dragons and research them again, so it's really not a big deal. And then we, of course, have to be on 2 copies of Fusionist for the OTK and the single copy of Arrow Shark. So that is the extra deck. I don't actually have a side deck built for this, so I might just kind of talk about some cards that I would definitely be siding, one of which being like MST for back row decks. But like, it's kind of weird because you only really care about cards like Skill Drain or something like that, right? You don't actually care about most back row, and like Solemn Warning would be the other one. So I probably would be on things like MST or even like Dark Bribe, I think could be really, really good. Another card that people were talking about playing in the other decks channel was people were talking about playing Dimensional Fissure. Some people were playing Dimensional Fissure over the Offerings of the Doom that I was suggesting. Their reasoning for that is because that stops Herald, that stops Maxi, that stops Veiler, which I do agree is like really strong. But again, I think it makes you a lot weaker to Thunder King, which is because, like, you know, Dimensional Fissure doesn't actually do anything on its own. So I would prefer to have the Game 1 generic out to Thunder King and then swap it out for Dimensional Fissures on the side. So I'd absolutely be siding Dimensional Fissure in this list. And I think those are like the main cards that I think would be like crucial for this to function in a tournament. Would have like, you know, MSD, Dimensional Fissure for sure. And yeah, I think that would maybe be it. There's also a fairly good case to like side out the OTK combo in like later games and just side in more hero monsters to just play like standard gate heroes, so you're not like relying on this combo too much and you're reducing your bricks for a better matchup, right? Like you could side out the Petite Angel and Mystical Sheep number 2 for cards that are actually good in your matchup, or just more hero monsters to just play kind of more standard, which I think is a fair case as well. But yeah, that's kind of it for this, guys. That's all I really had for you for this little like deck profile and like showcase. Let me know in the comments what you think. Again, I don't think this is like super broken. There's a lot of counterplay options to this, but I do think it is really funny and really fun, and so I'd be interested to see what you guys can cook up with this, especially as we get into the next season of Tengu Plant Worlds. But that is going to wrap it up for this video, you guys. We're just going to give a quick shout out to my patrons. So shout out to Wabi Adam, Eric Gagnon, Slap God, my dude, Photo Shooty, and Brian Ford. Thank you guys so much for the support. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and have a great time doing today.